Glad to be here. Always excited to talk about this program, the Tai Chi Quan Movement for Better Balance. You can call it Tai Chi. But before that, I just want to tell you a little bit about the organization that I represent, and that is the Metropolitan Area Agency on Aging. If you go down Highway 36 about 10, 12 miles, it sits right at 36 and McKnight. And essentially, our organization does work to help people live as independently as possible, as long as possible. And who of us does not want to do that? You may have heard of the Senior Linkage Line. You know, it's a one-stop shop for kind of all kind of services that you might be interested in, so that's a great service. What I represent is the program development area, and so we work on evidence-based healthy aging programs. Are you familiar with what evidence-based means? Anybody know? Evidence-based programs. Most people aren't. So what that means is these are programs that have been tested in a kind of a clinical setting, and they've gotten results. 2, they've been tested out in the community and gotten similar results. And 3, there's a protocol to follow, but if you follow the protocol, you should get those similar results. And so then you can disseminate it throughout the country. And so those are the kinds of programs that I work with. So it's Tai Chi Quan Movement, Better Balance, A Matter of Balance, Chronic Disease Self-Management Program, Diabetes Self-Management Program. All of these programs are designed to help folks live as independently as possible, as long as possible. Let's just talk just a little bit about falls in Minnesota. So we have, depending upon which data you're looking at, the 4th or 5th highest fall rate in the country. Why do you think that might be?
Slippery ice.
Slippery ice. Okay. And that is partly true. Because if that was the only reason, if you looked at the data through the months, you would expect to go like this. During the summer, during the fall, during the winter, up, up, up. During the spring, down, down, down. Right? But the data goes like this throughout the year. So what might be happening due to the ice in the winter? Certainly there are going to be falls, but what else might be happening?
You lose muscle strength because we're sitting at home.
Absolutely. So when Beth talks about inactivity, physical inactivity, inactivity, that is one of the primary reasons people fall. Certainly people fall due to ice, and it's dangerous, you have to be careful. But even as important is the fact that people sit and are concerned about falls and are inactive throughout much of the winter, and then get up, okay, springtime, let's get out and go. You know, weaker, not as much flexibility, and then people tend to fall. So they're counterbalancing factors. But the main message that I think is important for all of us is that we need to stay physically active. And you mentioned your mother and the concern about falls, that it tends to restrict her activity because she's concerned about falling. And actually, the fear of falling is one of the major risk factors for falls, because it results in people not staying active. They're afraid they're going to fall. So they say, if I stay in my chair, if I sit here, I'm not going to fall, I'll be safe. And once again, what happens? We lose our strength, flexibility, and balance. So, important, fundamental importance in any kind of falls prevention program is staying active, physically active. Many other things that we can do. We can take care of our house, we can take care of our vision, we can make sure that we have appropriate shoes and attire, and all sorts of things that we need to do. But fundamental there is that we stay physically active, and associated with that is engaged with other people in the community, because also social isolation can be a risk factor for falls as well. So, what does that have to do with what we're talking about today, the Tai Chi Quan Movement for Better Balance? When we talk about the evidence around this is a program that was developed by Dr. Fuzhong Li at the Oregon Research Institute at the University of Oregon. And he came from China to do his work in exercise physiology at the University of Oregon, and brought with him his interest in Tai Chi. Now, where did Tai Chi come from? The monks in the mountains of eastern China, 300-400 years ago. There's some debate about the actual time frame. They wanted to develop a self-defense mechanism to kind of take care of themselves. And so they developed Tai Chi. There are many different schools of Tai Chi. This particular one is the Yang style. But the important factor is that they developed this as a martial art and as a self-defense mechanism. And that evolved into what you see. How many people have seen pictures or video of, hundreds of people out in the morning in various parts of the world doing these very smooth movements? Well, that's Tai Chi, or some form of Tai Chi that people are doing. And so it's evolved into a public health program, primarily in the East, but now evolving very much into the United States and other countries as well. So, what Dr. Lee did with traditional Tai Chi, which is very balanced and always very smooth. So traditional Tai Chi is always going to be very smooth and balanced. He worked with physical therapists to say, okay, it's wonderful that Tai Chi is balanced and solid and stable at all times. That's great. But if we really want to impact falls prevention, balance, and flexibility for older adults, do we need to add a little element to it? Do we need to adapt it slightly to make it a little different from traditional Tai Chi? And so as he worked with the physical therapists, they came up with several adaptations to traditional Tai Chi. And the main one is, while you want to be stable at all times and smooth at all times, you also want to introduce a little bit of instability. Because as soon as we introduce that, our body reacts, we go back to stability. If we're always stable, that's a good thing, but it ramps up our ability to develop our strength and flexibility and balance. If we introduce a little instability, we push off. Body reacts, goes back to stability. So a fundamental principle of this program and why it's different from several people have done Tai Chi in the past. Let's see, you've taken a class, and several other people have as well. And so probably what you've done is very smooth, very solid, very stable, and very balanced at all times. And this is the primary difference from this program. So we introduce a little instability to create stability. Not so much that you're unsafe or you're going to fall over, but enough that it just jars you a little bit. I was looking at a piece just the other day when I was working out at LA Fitness, it was a couple blocks from where I live, and they had the little screen that's talking about things, and they did a little message as a nutritionist and something else, and they talked about the topic was muscle confusion. Muscle confusion, what's that have to do with getting stronger? Does anybody have any idea what muscle confusion is and why it would have anything to do with physical fitness? Any ideas? Muscle confusion is if you do the same thing the same way every time, that's a good thing, but your body quickly adapts to that. And then you plateau at wherever you are with that physical activity. If you introduce muscle confusion, or the body is doing something that it's not expecting, for example, a little push-off, or in terms of lifting weights, you rather than do the same weights all the time, the same repetitions, you do lots of repetitions of a lighter weight, or fewer repetitions of a heavier weight, or a different kind of exercise. Your muscles are suddenly needing to respond in a different way, and so they're not just adapting to that level. So it's that whole idea of we challenge our bodies in a safe way, and then they grow and they develop. And to the point earlier about seated, standing, chair-assisted, which was very good, Beth, or yes. Jean had done the homework on this, and that is that no matter where we are on that continuum of physical activity, from very little or none to quite physically active, we can always progress. We can always progress, and that's what this is all about. The fact that, you know, a third of the people 65 and older fall every year. It's kind of a well-known number. I frankly think that's probably a low number. I think probably more than a third of people fall every year. I mean, I know I fall on the ice every now and again, or I'm out running and I might trip on something and fall. So, you know, I think it's a very common thing. And 20 to 30% of those falls result in a serious injury. The average cost of a fall, of a hospitalization, is about $15,000 for a serious injury. So not only do falls impact our quality of life, which is most important because they can make us less independent, more dependent on others, or maybe even lose our independence in our home. But there's a financial cost to that as well. I think estimates around $30 to $40 billion a year in medical costs due to falls. Things such as, you know, moving out to the level, to the limit of stability, because we have limits of stability going forward, going back, coming out to the angles, coming back to the angles, all of which, as we're rotating through our ankles, we need to expand, and we do so through this program. We expand our limits of stability. If I have a very narrow limit of stability, if I'm suddenly challenged with something and I can't respond, I'm going to fall. I have a tendency to fall. So we expand those limits of stability through many therapeutic movements. Then we also, the third component is variations. And so once you've learned forms 1, 2, and 3, move the ball, horse's mane, single whip. And you don't just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You might do forms 1, 2, 3 one time. Then you might do 3, 2, 1. You might do 2, 1, 3. So mixing it up. Because, getting to the dimension component, one of the things that they've found is that if you engage the mind as well as the body in a physical activity, so you're asking people to recall something. So if you do something 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, everybody gets used to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's just rote 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's one thing that can have some value. But suddenly if you say, okay, now we're going to do 3, 2, 1, then suddenly people have to think, okay, 3, 2, okay, what's that have? And if you engage the mind, engage the cognitive part of your thinking, then as well as the physical part, then it tends to improve both. So try to engage the mind and the body in this program. Before we do a little demo, I just wanted to say a little bit about what it takes to become a leader for this program. Are we looking for group exercise physiologists or people who've done lots of group exercise and are professional as this? No, you don't have to have that background. Certainly helps to have some experience working with older adults. It certainly helps to have some experience with exercise, group exercise. If you've had some experience leading group exercise of some sort, that's very, very helpful. But we're not looking for somebody with Tai Chi experience. As a matter of fact, sometimes people with a lot of Tai Chi experience have a difficulty because this is adapted and it is a little different from traditional Tai Chi. So it actually can be an advantage to come in without a lot of experience in Tai Chi. But if you've had some, that's great too. So basically, what we're looking for are people who are willing to make a time commitment of 12 weeks, twice a week for an hour, or in some combination with other people to be able to make that commitment. After the 2-day training, we'll also have some follow-up training and some opportunities to tune up. I'm also available to come out and work with people on a one-to-one or small group basis as well to fine-tune skills. Dr. Lee, I'm going to give you a. tjqmbv.org is the name of the website, Tai Chi Quan Moving for Better Balance. You can go there and see all of the evidence, all of the research. Dr. Lee is essentially a researcher. So his initial research showed that with two 12-week programs, and we like to do it in two kind of consecutive 12-week sessions if at all possible. They had reduced the rate of falls by about 55% for those who participated. So really significant kind of difference making. But all of the research is on there, explanations of the program, some little video clips. You can see more about the program and read about the program. There's also something on there called, there's a tab called Instructors. If you click on it, you won't get into it, because you only can get into it once you've completed the 2-day training. And then that's got lots more detail of the video clips about the program and about things that you need to do. And I just got an email just this morning that said that he's working on trying out some online and distance learning sort of follow-up training that he will be leading as well. This is going to try out that as well. So we got local support here, as well as that website, and potentially some ongoing online learning as well. I want to also say that I don't want to overemphasize that we're going to be able to provide all support all the time, and everybody's going to have everything they need at all times. So we really do rely on people to take the training, get into the website once you've done that, learn, continue learning from that, and you get an instructor DVD that goes through all of the forms and all the mini movements and all the variations. And so you have that to review as well. So there are a variety of different support mechanisms. We have been doing this in Minnesota since 2012. We initially brought it to Minnesota because we were interested in, we had another program, and still do, a wonderful program called A Matter of Balance, which we've done a community thread. And it's a much more of a discussion-based program, and flip charts and talking about fears of falling and what we can do about it, and an exercise component to that. So it's something that you may possibly move into at some point in the future as well. It's a great program. But we were looking for something that was very physically based, and that we could adapt to people who, regardless of the language that they spoke, could do this program. And so we brought it in, and we trained bilingual leaders, Laotian and Vietnamese, and Somali, and Korean, and Cambodian leaders, and then launched it in 2012 with these non-English speaking older adults. And it worked so well that we said, well, let's just expand it to our our English speaking communities as well. And so that's what we've done. Since then, we have 20 organizations that are offering it in the 7-county metro area, as well as now statewide. We've got organizations through the area agencies on aging that are offering it as well. So, I think I have talked enough. Let me ask you if there are any questions, and then we're going to get moving with, we'll do a little demo of some of the kind of the basic things that we do to get people started, and kind of show you a little bit about what we can do seated as well as standing. And then, let's see, well, we'll do the headstand. So everybody
I'll lower the blinds.
So does anybody have any questions at this point? Yes.
Well, how soon after the 2-day training are you expecting that you'll be in front of people?
Sure. Good question. And that can vary with your level of comfort. You get a lot in 2 days, and so you kind of come away with a lot of information. It does take a little bit of time then to kind of sort that out. You have a teaching plan that covers 2 12-week sessions or 48 sessions altogether that takes you from class to class. And I would say if it's possible to actually schedule something ahead of the training and be able to start within 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I think that's great. A lot of people, it takes a little bit longer than that. You want to practice with a DVD. You want to practice, you know, with what you have online as well. So there's some practice involved. It's not a matter of I learn it once and then I do it. You know, I not only teach leaders to do the program, but I also have my own little class that I do just to kind of keep my skills up. But I also will go back to the videos online and say, okay, now what am I doing this week? I'm doing form number 5. How do I want to focus on this? How do I want to remember the cues and talk about it? So, but the important thing is really that if you wait, okay, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Okay? So if I waited until thought I was ready to start, how long might that take? Forever. So what we always encourage people to do is just get started and do it. And you'll be, if you're comfortable with the training, you're comfortable with what we've covered during the training. And not everybody is. You can come out of the training and say, yeah, that's nice, but not for me. But I would say the vast majority of people come out saying, yeah, this is cool, I'd like to do this. Then I encourage people to start within, a month or 6 weeks. Some people can even start earlier than that. You're only doing one class at a time, 1 week with 2 classes a week, so you don't have to prepare everything for your first class. It's very basic and it builds as you go. So really, I think the people who have had the most success are the folks who have taken the training, done some follow-up practice, and then get started.
And I think we want to emphasize too that we would really support having a couple of people work together.
Sure.
So that you can kind of, if one person feels like, oh, I'm not quite sure about that aspect of the curriculum, the other person, can fill in and you can do it together until maybe you feel comfortable doing it on your own. And I would think that your organization might have a list of classes that are already going on. So if a new person wanted to work with somebody that's a little bit more experienced, that we could do that as well.
Sure, absolutely. We could, we have lots of different possibilities. But yeah, the teaming up is, for a lot of people, it's fun to team up with somebody, 1 or 2 or more people. And also it gives you more flexibility. Well, I'm going to be gone that week. Okay, well, I'll cover it. Well, gee, we're going to be in Florida, so I can't do it then. And so you have that flexibility to share and to work together. And again, as a recovery perfectionist, this isn't about being perfect. It is, if that was the goal, we would have nobody doing the training, and Dr. Lee himself wouldn't even be doing it because he's not perfect. This is about learning the best we can, always progressing, always doing better, doing as well as we can do, but always learning and always growing. And guaranteed you will always know more than the people in your classroom because you've been through the training. So, which isn't to say that we go do things that are unsafe or that we go do things kind of cockeyed, but we do as well as we can do, and you will have an impact not only on your life, but on their lives. And if you can save in your class of people, classes can be anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 people. If you can save one person from a fall, think of the impact that has on that person's life. And you will impact more than that, probably everybody in the class. So, any other questions before we do a little practice session?